You're a business owner.
Check.
You have business owner's insurance.
Check.
And 10 years ago, that wouldn't have been enough. Today, small businesses are being targeted and taken down by hackers. Medical offices, consultants, CPAs, any business that's built success has everything to lose. You probably have cybersecurity installed on your computer.
Check.
But you probably don't have cyber insurance. Coverage against loss and damage if your data is compromised. Cyber Policy covers that gap. Cyberpolicy.com shops the leading cyber insurers to find you the right policy at the right price to avoid a catastrophe. Coverage against loss and damage if your data is compromised. Get a custom quote today in just 4 minutes. And for a limited time, use the promo code BlogTalk to get Norton's small business protection for up to 5 devices. Free when you sign up for cyber insurance. Plan, prevent, insure. Visit cyberpolicy.com. That's cyberpolicy.com.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, it's Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome to No BS Hiring Advice on Blog Talk Radio. This is a time where I'm going to be spending about 15 minutes with you talking about some aspect of job hunting or hiring, because I believe that staffing positions doesn't have to be so hard, difficult, painful, or take so long. It's just systems have been set up to make it far more complicated than it needs to be. And I want to take these 15 minutes weekly, maybe it'll become every other week, I'll figure it out as I go along, to help break down some of the mythology and to make it a lot simpler for you to staff. So today's show, I have 2 sponsors this week. First one is Audible.com. And if you go to audibletrial.com/TheBigGameHunter, I've been able to arrange with Audible a free download of any book that you choose from Audible.com. Now, one that you might consider is Who? The A Method for Hiring by Jeff Smart and Randy Street. It's a 4.5, almost 5-hour audio book that's available that you can listen to in a variety of different places or formats. And one of the cool things about Audible is if for some reason you don't like any book, they'll exchange it for any reason, exchange it without any questions asked. So again, to get a free audio book from Audible, go to audibletrial.com/TheBigGameHunter for your free download. Now, in addition, my other sponsor is ConsultingAssignments.com. ConsultingAssignments.com is a site where you can find and fill consulting assignments, full-time consulting positions, temp to perm, and contract to hire opportunities anywhere in the world completely free. Posting a job or a resume is free. Searching jobs and resumes is also free, as is the ability to contact one another. The only thing the site charges for is if you want to feature a job or a resume, it's $10 for 30 days. Woo! And if you're going to feature more than one position, they have programs that will bring the cost down to as little as $2 for 45 days. So again, that site is consultingassignments.com. So as I'm starting this show series, No BS Hiring Advice, I thought I would simply start by creating baseline shows, shows that deal with some of the basics of where we are and how things are done. And that's what last week's show was about, a good basic show about some of the fundamentals for hiring. And this show, I thought I would do the job market as I see it. And to give you a sense of my background, I've been in recruiting for more than 40 years, and I started blogging about the job market in August of 2001, a few weeks before 9/11 hit New York. And I was in New York at the time and witnessed one of the towers coming down and started to chronicle the effects of the event on the economy and on the job market at that time. I've been pretty good with my calls about the job market for a long time. So, for example, for those of you who were following me in 2007, I did a blog article that I called Game, Set, and Match, where I happened to have been home on the day that many of us first heard the term subprime mortgage, and listened to people on CNN and CNBC kind of minimize the impact of some of the first catastrophes that were occurring in the financial markets. I didn't see it that way. I saw it was really the end of the boom times in job search. And although I didn't expect it to be as bad as it became, I warned people at that time that they needed to do things to try to position themselves as well as build a network that would be useful to them throughout what I suspected was going to be a downtime. Later, I learned that there's a statistic that we're all going to become familiar with again that says the Dow Jones has never finished up in the last year of a two-term American presidency. I hope it's different this time. But, for you as a job hunter, it suggests that, again, this is a time that makes sense for you to put people and systems in place for yourself that will allow you to thrive during what could become complicated times. So, again, I'm not foretelling anything yet. It's a little early for me to do that. But I just want to remind you of that statistic or inform you of that statistic and encourage you to take some steps in order to position yourself for what could be a complicated time in 2016. Now, here we are in June of 2014, however. And the recent U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics report indicated another good month of job growth in the U.S. The good news, lots of new jobs were created. And the statistics basically say that all the jobs that were lost as a result of the economic collapse have now been replaced. The specifics for the month were that U.S. employers added approximately 217,000 jobs last month. Now, of those 217,000, 40,000 are those statistical aberration jobs. That is, jobs that the government can't prove were created, and they were created by companies that the government can't prove even exist. But when all is said and done, the trend line is going in a good direction. Now, when the government analyzes these jobs, they don't really, in their monthly report, talk about the nature of the jobs per se. So, for example, they don't really break down part-time versus full-time jobs, or whether or not, and this is the big one, whether or not a person accepted a position for a lesser salary than what they previously earned. To the monthly report, a job is a job is a job. So when they say 217,000 jobs were created, it's good news overall. The statistics, I'm not saying anything is being skewered here, but the statistical trend line has improved. And from the standpoint of the overall economy, like I said, it doesn't measure that in the monthly report. However, there is government data that's available in the census numbers that indicate that many of the jobs that have occurred during this recovery are, number one, not full-time jobs. They're temp jobs without benefits. And number two, that many of these jobs that have been created are for salaries less than what a person previously earned. And again, you'd have to find that in the census reports. And I'm not going to go through the specifics of where to find that. You can research the census data. I want to say it's in the H3 data, or H5 and H5 data of the census, but I could be wrong on that. I'm working off of memory. So, when all is said and done, what I see is that the recovery is kind of mediocre at best. Now, with all these jobs having been created, for example, there's 1.5 million construction jobs that haven't come back. Factory workers, there's almost, I think the number of fewer factory workers is 1.65 million. Many of the jobs in these two areas have been replaced by newer technologies that require far less manpower. So many of these jobs are not going to come back for a long time. Now, government payrolls have also come down. Now that, without sounding sexist, many of the government jobs are held by women, and thus with payrolls coming down, what I've observed over the years is that the fact that women entered the workforce went a long way towards sustaining the economic growth that began in the 70s through the balance of the 20th century into the beginning of this one. Without women entering the workforce and creating the famous two-income family, many families wouldn't be making it anymore. And even when they are making it, they're making it to mediocre levels. They're just hanging on. So with government payrolls having shrunk pretty dramatically, middle class pay is also coming down. Local school districts have 250,000 fewer workers. The Postal Service, for example, is about 195,000 fewer people working for it. And during this recovery, more people have left the job market than have entered it. So the statistic I've seen is that 58.9% of working-age Americans have jobs of any form whatsoever, which is down from 62.7% at the start of the recession. That data comes from ABC, by the way, ABC News. And I presume that they pulled it from the government reports. Now, one of the interesting things is among the jobs that have been created are lower wage jobs, healthcare positions, for example, as part of the effects of the Affordable Care Act, which in effect have created like a public works program for certain types of workers. So wage scale for many healthcare jobs that are being created by the Affordable Care Act are lower paid jobs. But I also want to speak in a promising note and to say that there are still many white-collar jobs being created and many people finding it easy to find work. So, for example, if you work in IT and you're at a senior level, if you're in accounting positions, if you're in engineering, there are jobs out there for you. And firms are finding it difficult to find people for them. And so for those of you who are involved with employment, one of the aberrations is you read all this data that basically says, it's complicated times, it's hard to find people, or experience that it's hard to find people, but you're seeing that unemployment remains high. And what do? Your wage scales are still from 5-6 years ago in many cases, and you're trying to hire 3 to 5 year people. Unfortunately, many of those people don't exist in the labor market because, to be blunt about it, when you go back 5-6 years, we're back at the beginning of the collapse of the U.S. economy. So let's say that began in October of 2014. No one hired for a year, maybe 2.5 years. They certainly didn't hire beginners. There was no room for entry-level people. So when you say that you're looking for a 4 to 6 year person, they don't exist. And if you're going to get them, you have to get them from the H-1B visa programs, which were also radically cut back until recently to as few as 70,000 people. My encouragement to you is to start reaching out more broadly past that benchmark of 4 to 6 years, for example, and to consider people with H-1B visas as part of your staffing program. Now, if you can't do visas, you've got to increase salaries in order to be attractive to the few people that are out there. After all, it is an issue of supply and demand. The other thing to consider doing is to consider retraining workers who have similar technical skills into areas that fit with your environment. Staying static is a formula for having the boomers outgrow what's available to them, and eventually they're going to retire and or die off. They're going to not be able to work the kind of hours that you expect, and where are you going to get these people from? Think about it for a second. The current generation of students is finding it extremely difficult to enter the workforce. It's not that they lack education, they lack experience in many cases. Having a program where you start training people for your environment now will go a long way toward advantaging you over the next 10, 15 years to be able to have the staff in place to be an acquirer of other businesses that are struggling to find talent. So I want to encourage you. Think creatively when you try and look for people. Start pushing past the cultural mores of our current time and look for younger, less experienced people or no experienced people and creating programs to train them for your organization. So that's my advice, my no BS advice for this show. I hope you find it helpful. Now, if you're trying to staff positions, I'd love to help you with recruiting for them. Reach out to me at Jeff Altman at thebiggamehunter.us. I'd be very happy to help you with staffing positions. I also want to encourage you, come over to my website, which is thebiggamehunter.us, and go exploring. I have lots of great content there to help you with hiring, to help you if you're looking for work for that matter. It's in video form, podcasts, a whole host of different content to help you with finding people. Now, I also want to ask you, if you're trying, if we're not already connected on LinkedIn, send me a connection request. The address is linkedin.com/IN/the-big-game-hunter. I accept connection requests from people worldwide, except if you look like a spammer. Then I'm not going to do it. And I'm not going to tell you how I think someone looks like a spammer. It's a pretty standard way, but I'll simply say I won't accept connection requests from people who look like spammers. I also want to encourage you, at my website, sign up for a complimentary subscription to No BS Hiring Advice Easy, which is published twice monthly with advice for HR professionals, hiring managers, and small business owners to help you make even better staffing decisions. So I'll be back next time with more No BS hiring advice. This is Jeff Altman. Hope you enjoyed today's show. I'll be back next time with more advice for you. Take care.
You're a business owner.
Check.
You have business owner's insurance.
Check.
And 10 years ago, that would have been enough. Today, small businesses are being targeted and taken down by hackers. Medical offices, consultants, CPAs, any business that's built success has everything to lose. You probably have cybersecurity installed on your computer.
Check.
But you probably don't have cyber insurance. Coverage against loss and damage if your data is compromised. Cyber policy covers that gap. Cyberpolicy.com shops the leading cyber insurers to find you the right policy at the right price to avoid a catastrophe. Coverage against loss and damage if your data is compromised. Get a custom quote today in just 4 minutes. And for a limited time, use the promo code BlogTalk to get Norton's small business protection for up to 5 devices. Free when you sign up for cyber insurance. Plan, prevent, insure. Visit cyberpolicy.com. That's cyberpolicy.com.
Right now at Gap Factory and Banana Republic Factory, save 50 to 70% off everything in stores and online. That's right, 50 to 70% off everything. Celebrate the 4th with dresses from $19.99 at Banana Republic Factory. And at Gap Factory stores, tees start at $4.99. Plus, save an extra 40% off clearance. Sale ends Tuesday. Search our store locator for your nearest Gap Factory and Banana Republic Factory store or shop us online.